Welcome to the Pirate Broadcast, where we interview interesting people doing interesting things, where you can expand your connections, your community. Kindness is cool and smiles are free. And let's get this party started. And it's another beautiful day for the Pirate Broadcast. And I wanted to start the day off with another interesting person doing interesting things. And I want to talk a little bit about how you can make connections, introductions, and just kind of expand your availability of resources by making those connections. And the Pirate Broadcast is all about how you can get involved in the community, engage, make those connections. And also, once you're involved, there's so many things that you can do and so many connections you can make that will amaze you. Over the years, I've made some amazing friends, incredible acquaintances that I still engage with every single week. And today I want to bring a special person on because I've learned to admire this individual, and she's doing some incredible things in the world. And I think she's an interesting person doing interesting things. So welcome to the Pirate Broadcast, Aman. You're now a pirate.
Thank you, Russ. Thank you for having me. Appreciate it.
You know, it's you started an organization in Houston, Texas. It's based out of Houston, but it's a global organization, really. There's no really barriers or borders involved in what you do. And I want to dive in a little bit about your backstory. And we talked a little bit about this last week and the opportunity to, I think, plant the seed of inspiration for other people to say, you know, sometimes your greatest asset is in something that may not be something everybody wants to do. And that's kind of how you started. So share that story and how you got engaged in this type of business.
Well, it all kind of grew from an intent, right? So there was an intent of just wanting to help and do something. And that kind of fostered into an idea. And there was a void. There was a void, and I was consulting with big firms, and a lot of big firms have, unfortunately, this notion of, you're learn as you go component. So I just felt like, having mastered into one arena, one, domain will actually help an organization. So that's where, we can all formed, and just wanting to help an organization, having empathy when you actually go on site and listening to the organization's needs and just connecting with that, and then providing a solution when you actually connect with exactly what you need there on the ground, and providing that and seeing that fit. That makes my day. So that's how it all started.
Yeah, we have that in common because it's so, you can't really be upset or disappointed when you can help people do something amazing.
Right.
And a lot of large organizations, they don't necessarily have all this information at their fingertips, and they don't necessarily have it all organized, and they don't have it all in a place or a format that works. And just to kind of scale it back it's called the practice is what's considered knowledge management. Is that the correct term? So
yes.
Describe to people that may not be familiar with that term, what that actually entails, what that encompasses.
Sure. I mean, everyone's familiar with the actual term knowledge, right? So in the business definition, knowledge is what allows a human to make a business decision. So if you have the right knowledge, you will be able to make the right call given the situation you're in. So you might have access to data, which is just a collection of facts. And then you have information, which is refined facts. And then if you take those refined facts and take it a step further and only extract information that's relevant for you to make decisions correctly, that's your knowledge. So we're in the intellectual, capital for an organization, and that's what we do.
It's amazing to me, having been in and out of, large organizations and things that require a lot of information. A
Right.
lot of companies, like you said and pointed out, and we've talked about, is that they're kind of bumping along and doing their thing. They're growing, expanding, and the last thing that gets taken care of is the organization of information. So what you have is this behavior of either always recreating information on the fly, that proposal that needs to go out, or that safety procedure that needs to be followed, or the understanding of what needs to take place next. And employee training is a huge part of it. All of these elements, when people have to take extra additional effort to find it, track it down, or create it, that's wasted energy. And what we talked about last week, and I wanted you to share, is when
Mhm.
that's all organized, that could save millions of dollars a year on wasted time. Are there some things that you want to kind of expand on?
Sure. I mean, actually, it's billions. So, according to Forbes, Fortune 500 companies
Uh-huh.
roughly save $31.5 billion a year by, if they fail to share knowledge. So it's in the billions actually, and
Wow.
just on an annual basis. And it's because if you're not able to take care of the most important asset in your company, you do lose money. It's just a simple equation. So making sure you extract your information and convert it into your knowledge asset and keep it and maintain it and make sure you address it correctly, you will lose money if you don't.
Yeah.
So,
Well, I know for myself personally, having been through this process a number of times, building systems and building information. I don't know how, I mean, there are a lot of different systems, CRM, customer relationship management. I've been an admin for Salesforce in the past. I've
yeah.
built, engineering systems that capture engineering processes. And when you can't find information, it's
Mhm.
painful. It's
Right.
painful for an organization
Right.
because it's not hands-on, it's not easy access. So, kind of, how do you structure your process when you go through this exercise with an organization?
So, I mean, we have different methods to go about it, and it all depends on the actual project and their need, kind of what I mentioned earlier, right? So, and that's something we stay away from, and definitely are very, very careful about going on ground and trying to fit the same glove into every
Yeah,
organization and try to say, yo, this is the right model and this is what we use across the board and this will work for you too. We stay away from that. So we do try to see what happens at an organization and fit accordingly. For example, at what you're doing currently, right? You have so much content, you're talking and interviewing people left and right. If you don't keep it organized, the show won't be as successful as it is right now,
yeah.
correct? So it just depends on what you're dealing with, what the organization is doing, and then conforming towards it, right? So that's what we do. We try to get in the ground. We do a lot of workshops, which are we call it discovery workshops. We
Mhm.
get to know the client. We have interview sessions with the SMEs and the stakeholders, get to know the organization, and then dive in and create a program for them.
So it's really the discovery phase that allows you to understand what their personality is, what their
Correct.
position is, what their pains are. You
What the
know,
behavior is. So even how they get to the information, what
yeah.
are they clicking around to get to the information? If they're accessing a portal within their organization, or if they're just going through the filing cabinet. A lot of unfortunately in organizations that we go to, sometimes on the sites and the facilities, that's what they have. They have binders stacked up. So we have no problem connecting with the most high tech organization to someone that does not have the means. So it varies. It really varies.
How can this how can this process translate to the small business owner, the freelancer, the the entrepreneur that might have one or two people? We're not necessarily an enterprise organization here at the Pirate Broadcast
Yeah.
yet. I like to add yet. So, so what could we do through our growing pains that maybe can help us move in the direction of organization and what it takes to really start thinking in knowledge management kind of thought process?
Well, one of the scenarios that I try to walk through, which I know everyone has been to, is a grocery store, right? When you walk into a grocery store, you see aisles of information. And what they have done, they've used knowledge to extract the little labels on the top telling you what, if the pasta is there, the pasta will be there with the sauce, and it won't be next to something else that's not relevant. So that is categorizing and getting information and objects together for the customer that is shopping as you're going down the aisles. So the same way, so if you were to use that same methodology, a simple methodology as a grocery store, right? That's called information architecture. So if you were to just architect your own space and organize it the way where you're taking relevant information and just putting into buckets, right? It could be folders. It could be just actually on your desk. I'm not sure how what your working space is like, but just put it together and then label it. And then you go down another round and then another round and you'll have an organized workspace.
I love that. I love that. I want to say hi to a couple of people in coming into the community. So, hello everyone. How are you doing? Gabriel runs another show in the evening. He and I always collaborate on projects and everything else that's going on around us in the live streaming world. Nick Gemmel he's in the trades of the oil and gas industry. He's up in north of us in Canada doing great work. Nick, let's catch up soon. Michael Baker is here. He's from Florida. Kathy Spooner, thank you so much for being here today. And Michael's procedures and processes. It's all important. It's all important. So I really thrive in. I'm like you, and I like the process of organizing the information.
Yes, it is. It is. And it's one of those things, when you walk into a space and I can see clutter in terms of information. It's a lens that, that I've formed over the years where I can see exactly how this information can be laid out and how it could be organized. And as I listen to people, it just becomes more and more clear on how this could be useful. So that's something that I absolutely enjoy. And that's something that, gets me going. So, and that's what's fun, doing what I do. And having an organization and running the people, a team of amazing people doing the same thing that, I love doing.
Yeah. What is it that you hear most in organizations as far as their pain points? What is it? What is it that really resonates when you hear it and you say, I know I can make an impact here?
Sure. Well, one of the main pain points is not having enough time. So think about, say, a field administrator that's sitting at a facility. He's running and making sure there's no incidents, their team is safe, and taking care of their daily tasks, right? They're not thinking about, oh, did I capture all my records correctly? Did I capture every line item? Have I organized it correctly? That's not their day-to-day task, right? That's not their priority. So that's one of their pain points, is not having the time to do it. And then another thing is where they just don't want to do it. They don't want to write. They're not writers. And that's how I actually fell into writing, is because, working with engineers and trainers, no one wants to do the writing part. It's simple, so, and that's okay. So, those are some of the pain points that we come across. And that's where we're in the business, what we do, because if you don't want to do it, no problem. We'll take it. So, simple as that.
I would be a writer if I could type or spell.
But then all kinds of tools.
That's how I got into technology is when I was in safety and writing reams of, documentation and procedures and fall protection and all that kind of stuff. I learned to appreciate the little things. And you're absolutely correct. It does take time. It does take effort. And sometimes a lot of job descriptions I don't think organizations really allow for that time and space to engage in the documentation side. So it's really great that you're out there doing some great work for organizations. Are there any trends that you're seeing or noticing that might be uh, able to assist us going forward, or like you talk about AI or artificial intelligence or anything like that? Like I'm thinking in terms of like HR has, the systems where they could bring in batches of, you know, applications, and they can kind of sift through that quickly through data analysis. And so it's almost on the reverse side of that. So is there anything that's emerging in the industry that you noticed that's kind of interesting?
There are a few things that are coming about in the AI world, but it's not connecting to knowledge management yet. Unfortunately, I think we're the practice that's the last to get everything. But actually, Spark thought we are connecting with some universities to try to see if we can get in the forefront of that, and make sure that our practice is heard. But with AI, there's a lot of work going on with facial recognition, where if there's some distress and during a work process, then it is alerted to, say, if you're in the field, again, if you're in oil and gas, especially, for example, if there's some distress that, in the control room, someone's alerted to let them know that there is something going on with that field technician, and to be advised to go take protocol accordingly. So there's certain things that are out there at the moment, but within knowledge management, no, unfortunately, there isn't that I know of.
Yeah. Well, I experimented a lot in the past with doctors because I was setting up doctors' facilities, and a lot of doctors use transcription and transcription services. And I thought, well, if you could do voice translation, if you could record, that might make it easier. And then you could just make the corrections and it would be a little quicker. Close, not always as efficient as it could be, and it's getting closer. And there's a few things out there that I've seen that might be interesting to look at. However, still it takes time and effort to sit down and document a process. Even organizations that may do things a certain way, however, the person that's been doing that started with the company, and in order to train and expand and scale, you have to document all of this stuff to actually allow that knowledge to transfer to the next person that comes in the door. And I think there's a lot of people, especially in the oil and gas industry, that are here getting ready to retire. It'd be nice to collect all that information and that knowledge and put it in a place that new people coming into the industry could actually use.
Right.
Is that a trend you're seeing?
We are, and there's a big project that we're working on currently to do that, and to get those retired, the folks that are being sent out, or actually moving and changing jobs, right? Yeah. So job retention is one of those things as well in this any organization, in any field, any industry. Yeah. So getting that information while they're there and keeping that in-house is a challenge. Only way we can do that is extract that while they're there on ground, not after they leave. So that is a loss. That is money lost and value. So yeah, we that is a trend, but that is an ongoing trend for years, and that's a part of the calculation that I shared earlier.
Yeah, yeah, that's part of the $1 billion lost.
Yes, it is. That's not all of it, but it's part of it. Yeah.
Yeah, I find it fascinating too, because we were talking about doing some research on this, and I know there's a lot of research out there coming to the conclusion that it costs a business a lot of money when people leave. Retention is key, culture is key, and it would be nice if they had scribes of sorts following people around saying, okay, how did you do that? What was it about this process that you did that was unique for that way? And that little detail that is lost along the way, the generations, because, okay, they've had experience. They've actually had the experience of doing that.
Right.
And I was reading a story about NASA and how some of the early engineers, through experimentation, tweaked and adjusted these rocket engines to the point of, success through hundreds of experiments and adjustments and things like that. And that minutia was never documented. So they couldn't necessarily just take a set of plans like an architectural drawing and rebuild those rockets. And it strikes a chord with this conversation, because there's a lot of organizations that people do things the way they're doing it because of experience. And that little nuance of experience often goes undocumented.
Correct. And that is something that, for example, if we were to switch roles today, if I were to walk in and just say, I'm going to be the new pirate, what do I have there that's structured for me to just look through the information, knowledge, and say, I can do this job today? So you have to think in that way. And then also we ask the right questions to extract the information instead of just following people around and shadowing and just getting them to, say random things. And, you'll be amazed at, people talk about in their articles and big, news that's launched when, say, a C-level individual transfers from companies to companies. But if, someone from the ground at a tech level transfers from a company to company, there's more loss of value there. And people don't realize that. Because they're the one doing the daily tasks. They have the good information of how to keep an incident-free, facility. For example, again, I'm relating everything to oil and gas because that's what we're kind of stepping into. I think you'll be announcing that soon, but that's what we're stepping into, right? So making sure that the person on the ground gets that respect and gets that information across to us is the kind of techniques that we use. So that's something that we do differently.
I've been through several projects, and one of the personalities that I've been involved with at some point in time is the personality that, why do you want to know what I do? Are you trying to take my job away from me? And that has to be handled with, empathy, understanding, compassion. And it's like, no, what we want, you're a valuable employee. We want to keep you. We want to maintain your position. We want you here.
Right.
And we want to make sure that when you decide you want to retire or do something else or get promoted, that we have an opportunity to fill that vacuum with somebody that can understand what is required to do the job. And so that's kind of a negotiation and probably a little bit of a dance you have to play at times in organizations. Is that your experience?
Actually, we just go with the simple formula of respect. We just look, I've used this personally. I just give respect to that individual and say, you're so good at what you do. And you're going to leave your legacy behind is what we're trying to capture. That's it.
You're so smart.
That's true. That's it.
That's true. It is true.
Yeah.
It is true.
Yeah.
So we're going to have, I was coming back here and Arthur Jones, we're getting the definition of purpose and process plan for achievement. Absolutely, Michael. And then patience and time, motivation and determination, mutual goals and beliefs. And Arthur says taxonomy plays a big part in that, I'm sure. Then evaluation of everything every day. Raul says author organization hits home for me. That's fantastic. And then also Heather, hello from Boston. Hello. I used to live up in Stoneham there, so I love Boston. Hello to the Pirate Broadcast friends. And then Michael is sharing that knowing the strengths and weaknesses of those on your team is essential for delegation. One of the things that freed me up a lot was document and delegate. If I can document it, I can't hand anything off unless it's documented.
You're right.
Right?
Yeah.
It's difficult to manage information unless you document it.
Right.
And going back to the Pirate Broadcast, the real world example is is I did the first 30 episodes all on my own so I could document the process.
Correct.
And then I trained Mel, and I went through, and then she's trained other people. And so now we're on like 3 different people that have done the pirate broadcast and the process and the production side. So all of the things that go into it, all the bookings, all the process, all the follow-up, the transcription, all of that stuff is done as a result of that documentation process. And it's always improving. It's always in a process of, okay, we can tweak and adjust it and improve it. And what really happens, at least what I've noticed, is unless you take the time to document that to the degree that you need to, it always falls behind. And then there's a gap. It's like, well, that's how we used to do it. That's what's in the documentation. And now we've adjusted that process to this in the new process. So really, once you have an organization and you get this organizational process in place, do you come back and continue to update that, or do you teach them kind of how to fish, and then they can go on and move and do their process on their own?
Well, first thing what I'm hearing, I would like to congratulate you. You are practicing knowledge management. So the term that you were asking for the definition, you're actually doing it.
Yeah.
Congratulations on that. And then secondly, the question that you've asked is, it depends on the maturity of the organization. So sometimes organizations just say, do this so we can be a compliant and we just want this done and please don't come back. Or they have that bond. So majority of our clients actually have us come back on a yearly basis, which is a healthy time to kind of come back and do a good health check on the documentation, on their processes and procedures that they're doing, and kind of tweak them accordingly. So yes, there is a continuum as you proceed in your organization. Yeah.
Which is a good thing. So what kind of organizations are an ideal fit? I imagine a few in my head because I've dealt with some large organizations that need a lot of knowledge management.
Yeah.
However, what could you describe? So if any of the pirates out there know of anyone that needs to be contacted, they can follow up and give you some offers and opportunities.
Well, I mean, it's any industry, to be honest, but we worked with oil and gas, mass media, financial, healthcare, so the list goes on. We've kind of fit into any organization. At the same time, we work best when an organization really wants us and needs us. So when you feel like, we can actually come in and help, that's where we connect the best. When there's a desire to get help.
Yeah. It has to be a win-win situation. Is it typically from the top down and saying, hey, I know I need help in order to grow. We need to get all this information organized. Or is it like from HR that needs to work on compliance that says, hey, I need somebody to help get this organized? And is it just
it's a blend.
on the organization?
It's a blend of both. There are a lot of regulations out there that are coming out, and now at the moment they're at a pause, but regulations that come out that need to be met and addressed. But a lot of organizations that I've been fortunate enough to work with, they want to go above that, because they're not wanting to police their organizations. They want to make sure they keep their environment, their people safe. So they actually go above and beyond just the compliance realm. So it's blended is what I would say.
Yeah. I love that. So Don says documenting processes right now. Congratulations, Don. Love that. So there is no mentorship programs. Who want to train their replacement. Fear of being replaced is surreal. So it is real. However, there's a certain freedom in actually going down for myself. This is me talking, and because I am a fan of systems and documentation, is that there's a certain freedom that takes place when you don't have to think about how you're going to do something in the future because you've documented it now and in the past. Mm-hmm. And so you think, okay, how does this need to take place? I know I had a document in the format and a template that was created for this purpose.
Right.
And going forward, it's really great to be able to copy that and say, okay, I'm going to do this again. Here's the process. And this is the way we handle it. This is the way we manage it. So
Well,
Heather says EI is more important than book smarts these days, I think. There's an advocate for you. Heather, thank you so much for that. It's awesome. Jane says it's awesome.
thank you guys.
People, process, product. Get your P straight.
Yeah.
So, and then Michael says documentation leads to clarity. And then proper planning prevents piss poor performance. Listen, I am open now to new connections to widen our knowledge. So
Excellent.
thank you. Thank you so much. This has been encouraging, Aman, and I know that you just launched a new website. We've got an event coming up. Talk a little bit about this event and what people can expect in this event.
Sure, I'd love to. So this event, as you're part of it as well, which has been a fantastic journey working with you, it again grew from an intent to do some good within the oil and gas industry, with everything that's happening with the pandemic and loss of jobs and just the lovely 2020 that we're all thrown into.
Yes.
There was an idea that just came to mind that said, wouldn't it be great to have some good knowledge out there where people could just tap into it and connect. So that one little idea, that seed just kind of grew. So gathered some amazing leaders in the industry, and they're going to be hosting and speaking on relevant of their sessions in their domain on October 5th through 9th, and it's called SparkCon. It's Spark Thoughts Conference, and that event's coming up soon, so hopefully you guys can join.
Yeah, and we'll put all of the show notes and everything in the post that will be up later today because of the process that we've developed. Yeah. So we'll take this broadcast and convert it into a podcast, and then to convert it into a transcription and then a blog post.
There you go. You've got
all this information will be produced by the end of the day. And so it's like I like to say, broadcast in the morning, podcast in the afternoon.
There you go.
So, Aman, this has been tremendous. And everybody, go right now to SparkCon.today, SparkCon.today, and register for this session. I would love to have you join us and learn something about the industry and also meet some amazing people that are going to be involved in this meeting. And as you know, just like the Pirate Broadcast, we have one conversation and it can change the way we think. It's changed the way we live, would change the way we think about what we're doing and why we're doing it. And there's some amazing people that you're going to meet through this process, and get involved, get engaged. I'm going to be there. Aman's going to be there. We're going to be having a great time. We're going to have sharing a lot of amazing knowledge, and you never know who you're going to meet. So I encourage you to sign up at SparkCon.today and register now. So, Aman, thank you so much for being here.
Thank you, Russ, for having me.
It's awesome. Well, everyone, thank you so much for the Pirate Broadcast. I know this is a quick 30 minutes that goes by, so I know we could talk for a little while longer, and I know that you have things going on in your world and you got things to do. So, as always, kindness is cool, smiles are free, and you enjoy the day. See you soon. Thank you for joining the Pirate Broadcast. If you found this content valuable, please like, comment, and share it across your social media channels. I would love the opportunity to help others grow in their business. The Pirate Syndicate is a platform where you show up, we produce the show. It's that easy. If you want to be seen, be heard, and be talked about, join the Pirate Syndicate today.